Hi, this is Sarah from the Flourishing Body Formula. So I wanted to share another success story with you and to explore a little bit about something that we don't really talk about when we're looking at health. In the mainstream, we look at symptoms and medications and maybe therapies, but we're not actually looking at how our mind is so powerful it can create things that are happening in our body. And I've worked with a number of people that have MS. In fact, I worked for a multiple sclerosis charity at one point. And what they all seem to have had in common is that they made a decision at some point before their body started breaking down. So I'll give you one example. A lovely lady that I worked with at the end of last year. So she was in a job she really didn't enjoy, and she had a relationship with a long-term partner that was quite destructive. And in fact, when I asked her the question during her Access Bars session, what was happening at the point of your illness coming on, she said, I knew when I took the job that it wasn't going to be very good for me. But I stuck it for 7 years because I didn't believe I was good enough to do anything better. So I put up with all kinds of things at work to the point that it was impossible to keep going to work. So what that did subconsciously, and this is a subconscious process in all of us, it's not something that we set out to do. Her subconscious mind created a breaking down of her body, which started off with her eyesight, and then her limbs, to the point where she's walking with a walker and has a lot of limited movement. I mean, one leg has probably 40% movement, the other leg less than 20%. So she's created unknowingly conditions that have enabled her to stop doing the job that she wasn't enjoying. How amazing is that? I mean, we're very smart. We don't realize what we're doing, but we're creating that with our thoughts and our points of view. So actually what happened during the period that we were doing bar sessions together, the thing she really wanted was to have more mobility. And she hadn't driven for over a decade. So after 3 Access sessions, she had applied to retake a driving test to be assessed, with the intention of buying a car. She was quite fearful because she lived on a hill and she was worried about having the control over the car's mechanisms. But actually, after 3 clearing sessions, she was willing to take that chance. So how many places are you defining yourself or creating thoughts and limitations about what you don't want to do, that if you were to change that, it could create a whole different experience of your body? And would you be willing to let that go now? So what was quite interesting is I worked around the physios that were doing an amazing job really caring for the MS patients. But when I listened to the vocabulary in the conversation, and it's just the way that we function, it was all very limiting. So they were defining people suffering with MS as it's only going to get worse and there's not much hope. And everywhere we're defining things and limiting things, that's what the mind creates. So I have a totally different perspective on life. I actually believe we can create a lot of greatness just by changing the way that we're thinking. So what definitions are you using for yourself, your body, your own life, that if you were to redefine who you are, what that is for you, you could create something greater? It's really worth playing around with that to see what else is possible, or even having an Access Bars session yourself.